Can Capcom strike gold twice? Coming off the success of Resident Evil 2 Remake, expectations for RE3 were sky high. We had Jill Valentine, Carlos Oliveira, and the city that started it all. And of course, Nemesis. Everything looked like it was lined up for another survival horror classic. And while there are moments that shine, the experience left me more frustrated than thrilled. Let me explain. Resident Evil 3 Remake dropped in April 2020, just 1 year after RE2 Remake. Unfortunately, its timing wasn't ideal. There was a global pandemic, and the world was in a lockdown. And the game is polished in some areas, but it also feels really rushed, which could be the reason. I played it right after RE2, and I was excited to see more of the outbreak unfold. The opening is really intense. Jill's nightmare begins, Nemesis is literally bursting through the walls, and Raccoon City is on fire. For a moment you feel unstoppable, like Jill Valentine really is a superhero. But the energy fades quickly and the cracks in pacing and gameplay start to show. Okay, let's start with the positives. Capcom's RE engine once again looks phenomenal. Jill and Carlos are the best they've ever looked. The city is gorgeous in a terrifying way. Neon lights cut through the chaos and shadows swallow the streets whole. Enemy designs are solid too. Zombies feel familiar but dangerous, and Nemesis has a presence. He's tall, loud, and constantly evolving. Here's the thing. He looks scarier than he actually feels. Sound design also doesn't hit the same atmospheric highs as RE2. It's fine, but it's just not memorable. What does stand out is the voice acting. Jill and Carlos feel alive, and their chemistry gives the game heart, even when the story pacing struggles. RE3 represents a dramatic shift and leans into more action horror rather than survival horror, which is what I was expecting. The game is packed with action sequences from start to finish, though many of them aren't actually playable. You spend most of your time simply navigating Jill or Carlos through those environments. Combat is straightforward. Point, shoot, repeat. Jill gets some sort of dodge and Carlos gets a punch. Sounds cool, but in practice, neither feel great. I'll admit I never mastered the dodge. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And when it did, it felt more like pure luck. Another big shift? Knives and grenades can't be used defensively anymore. That safety net from RE2 is gone. If you get grabbed, you're mashing buttons and taking damage no matter what. And the cutscenes, although visually very impressive, but they interrupt gameplay constantly. Instead of being Jill, I felt like I was watching Jill. The constant stop-start killed the pacing for me. Stop right there, and if you like this breakdown so far, consider subscribing to the channel. I've got more Resident Evil and other games content coming your way, and it's the best way to make sure you don't miss a beat. The story is serviceable, but that's where I felt the pressure to release the most. Events happen so quickly that it's hard to stay invested. I mean, Jill is in a boss fight, she's out cold in a zombie-infested city, and Carlos finds her untouched half a day later. On paper, the overlap between RE2 and RE3 is exciting and provides a unique opportunity to dig further into the lore of the universe. Apart from a few cameos from fan favorites from Resident Evil 2, the developers don't really explore that, and it just feels like such a wasted opportunity, and fans probably felt the same way. That being said, Carlos and Jill are a highlight. Jill is determined, resourceful, and driven by her mission to hold Umbrella accountable. Carlos brings humor and charm, and his dynamic with Jill feels genuine. Voice actors carry a lot of the emotional weight here, and it makes the story watchable even when the pacing falters. RE3 Remake is short, 6 to 8 hours, even if you take your time short. Replayability is minimal. Outside of doing speedruns or chasing a better ranking, there isn't much incentive to dive back in. And when you compare that to the replay value in RE2, it feels like we've taken a step back. Now, before you type in the comments, I'm aware that the A and B scenarios weren't what fans expected in the RE2 remake, but even just wanting to replay the game from a different character's perspective added some value. Now, before I wrap up my game review, if you've made it this far and you're not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. Leave a comment down below your favorite moment from RE3 or your least favorite moment from RE3, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Now, it isn't all bad. RE3 did have some strengths. The visuals are stunning thanks to the RE engine. Jill and Carlos are likable, well acted, and they're believable. And the enemy design looks great, even if it's not scary. However, Nemesis feels scripted. He's not threatening. Gameplay leans too heavily on cutscenes, and the story feels rushed and underdeveloped. All of those outweigh the pros, in my opinion. Resident Evil 3 Remake fell a bit flat for me. It looks incredible, and Jill and Carlos absolutely shine, but the overemphasis on action, the constant cutscene interruptions, the lack of true horror make it feel less like a Resident Evil and more like a spin-off. I understand the circumstances. Capcom had deadlines, the pandemic forced hard choices, and this was probably a tough project to finish, so decisions had to be made without risking future projects. But RE3 just feels like a missed opportunity, but hopefully the tables turn in the next installment. Well, that's it for me. Now I want to hear from you. Did RE3 Remake live up to your expectations, or did it fall flat? Drop your take in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this review, hit that subscribe and like button. More reviews and exclusive content are on the way, and you don't want to miss what's coming